just want to say, first of all, thank you guys for coming. I know I hadn't seen you guys in a long time, but I am extremely happy about being back here. Today was a wonderful day to get an opportunity to coach my team, who I missed so much during these past 2 weeks. But before I begin, I just truly want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to our coaches, Coach Phil Martelli, Sadie Washington, Howard Isley, and all the support staff too. Jay Smith, Chris Hunter, Jerron Simmons, Colin, everyone that, and I can't forget, our managers too. Our manager did a fantastic job in those 2 weeks, making sure that our guys are prepared, serving in a lot of ways. And I was excited just to see that everyone join in together, all hands on deck. With that, I touched on it earlier, how excited I am about being back in Chrysler. But let's talk about why you guys are here and why I'm here. That's the real thing. And the reason why we're all here is because of the post-game events at Wisconsin. And so with that, I can come with 1,000 excuses, but I'm not. I take full ownership for my actions. I can talk about the timeout. We can discuss the pull on the arm. We can talk about the words we exchanged with coaches. But all that will be excuses. The main thing is that was not the right way how I should carry myself as a head coach at the fine institution like the University of Michigan. I was truly upset with myself. During that 2 weeks, I did some soul searching on how I can improve. When I talk about my team, being 1% better, that applies to me too. So during that 2 weeks, I got a chance to do some soul searching to evaluate how I can get better. And during that time, I reflected on the moment at Wisconsin, but then how I can be better as a best version of myself as a head coach here. Better as a person and better as a coach. So let's talk about the person. I went out and I sought therapy. This is not the first time, and it won't be the last time, because I want to be a better person. I want to be a better coach. And I feel that was the right thing to do to help improve as a person. Because I talk about it with you guys, and I mentioned it before, 1% better, that's my 1%. And I got a chance to really evaluate and see where are areas I can improve on. And that is not just because of now, but that's going to be for the future as well. Because I enjoy being here, and I enjoy being a leader of this program. And I enjoy being a leader and also a good leader for our players and staff. I had a setback, and that moment I was not. And I take full responsibility, and I'm sorry. I hurt a lot of people. I hurt my family. I hurt my players and their families. I hurt my staff. I hurt the Michigan family, the Michigan alumni base. There are a lot of people that I hurt during that moment. And I'm still hurting. But most importantly, I want to take time to apologize again. I want to apologize to the assistant coach at Wisconsin, Joe Kabenroff, because he deserves an apology. And hopefully someday in person that I get an opportunity to walk up to that man and apologize to him, look him in the eye, look him in the face, and let him know that I am sorry. And that doesn't mean I won't do the same with Greg Gard and others. I will continue to grow. I'm not going to be perfect. I know there's going to be a big microscope on me every time that I coach. What are my emotions like? How am I communicating with my players? I'm going to tell you this. I know I'm not a perfect person. And with the mistake that I made, I would try to improve. But there was growth, and I've learned during the process, and I will continue to keep learning. So I thank you guys again for being here today. But know this, I am not a perfect person. If you guys have any questions, please.
Juwan, between your post-game press conference at Wisconsin and when you released a statement, at what point did you know yourself that you had made a mistake, and how did you feel in that moment?
I care. I have a heart, and I knew when I got back on the bus that I was upset with how I conducted myself during that moment at the press conference. From what I said, it wasn't from the heart. And as you know, the next day, after reflecting and thinking about it, that statement that I made came from the heart, and that's what I meant to say, and I apologize for my actions.
Juwan, you said you hope you can get the chance to apologize in person. I guess over these last 2 weeks, did you reach out to Juwan maybe?
No, I have not. No. And the plan is to do that when the season is over, when it presents at the time, because I know that they are involved in the season as well. I would rather do it in person than on the phone.
And I know there was no guarantee that you were going to be reinstated. Were there any conditions or stipulations you had to meet before Monday?
5-game suspension, as well as the fine from the Big Ten.
You've talked about personal growth. What did you learn about yourself during therapy and stuff?
Well, how I can become the best version of myself, getting 1% better. That's what I learned a lot about myself. And I'm an extremely competitive person.
Juwan, you mentioned the microscope that you know is going to be there.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
have any sense of how you're going to, is this going to affect you? Are you going to be thinking about some of these things as you're coaching, et cetera?
No, I'm going to be dialed into making sure I'm preparing my players, staff, so we can go out there and compete. I'm not going to focus on the prediction or assumption here. Dial into the competition and preparation.
And then just to follow up, what has it been like for you to watch your team the last couple of weeks,
Well,
away from the team?
It's been tough. Like I said earlier, I take full responsibility. There's no excuses, but I got a chance to really learn and take a step back about the team, about the staff, and how I can be a better coach moving forward.
Juwan, as far as watching your own team play on TV, if you can just give some background on how that was. Did you watch at home? Did you mute the television, or did you, like you're watching film, or how did you take in the games?
I watched at home, and I always have my same spot. I sit there in my office at my desk. I put on my same clothes because I'm wired that way. I'm superstitious. It's got to always be Michigan gear from head to toe. I also, during the time watching on TV, I get a chance to rewind and see and take notes on some areas of teaching moments for our players and staff. And then as we get an opportunity now, as you know, which I'm very excited about, is the Big Ten tournament, preparing, how we can be a better team moving forward as we work extremely hard to get this Big Ten title.
Quick follow-up, were you kind of watching like a coach, it sounds like, if you're taking notes, or more like a fan reacting to,
Both. I'm always going to be a fan. I'm going to be a fan as I'm coaching. I'm one of the biggest cheerleaders there is to our team. I just don't have on the gear.
Juwan, can you describe what your conversations have been like with Ward Manuel throughout this process? And was there any moment when you feared that you wouldn't be able to be back here?
Well, our conversations has been strong. It's been great, and it's all been about learning. And I really appreciate Ward and how he supported me, but also how he's helped me through this process. And he's one of the mentors, big brothers, advisors that I have leaned on.
Juwan, on Monday you met with the players individually. I'm sure you could have spoken to them all at once. I guess was there a reason why you wanted to meet with each guy one-on-one?
Well, getting back to I love talking to people face to face instead of on the phone or by Zoom. I also wanted to talk to them individually and see how we could together, because it's a partnership, on embarking on something that I know all of us are trying to achieve, and that's a Big Ten title and an NCAA title if we get the opportunity to compete for postseason play in March. Well, we are in March, but with the NCAA tournament.
And I know Hunter, he said before the Michigan State game, he stopped by your house to visit you. I mean, I'm sure other players did. I guess just what did that mean to you to have?
Can you repeat that?
Just what did it mean to have some of the players come over and see you during your
And now that you say that, I mean, I can be in tears right now thinking about how it just meant so much to know that I have so much support coming from not just some of the mentors and former coaches, whether they're current coaches now and coaches that have coached me on the college level, high school level, friends and family, but knowing that your players who you're in the trenches with every time, and I think, you know, as every coach would assume, sometimes your players get tired of hearing your voice, but knowing that my players are so supportive and cared about me and my well-being, I mean, that meant everything to me. Having Hunter come by the house and wanted to talk and some of the things that we shared, you know, was very touching.
Just a quick question. Was the therapy part of the punishment or suggestions? Was that something you had to do from the university?
It was a collaboration. That was something that I really wanted to do, too, and this wasn't the first time that I've done it. Like I said before, this won't be the last time either.
And among the 1,000 excuses, could the pandemic be one thing? I mean, all of us are facing pressures. Last night there was fights in the stands, and players had to be kept out of the stands from fighting. And, you know, with what happened with both sides of the coaches, is this another example of the pandemic creating pressures on all of us and making us a little, you know, make choices that we wouldn't make otherwise?
I'm not sure, but I know last year, first time of, you know, experiencing COVID, it's always been challenging. Coaching during some uncomfortable times like now, and this is something new that we all have never experienced before, but I think we all have gotten stronger during the process.
Some local coaches were asked maybe the handshake line should go away. What do you think about that?
I like it. You know, it also is a great example for sportsmanship in sports, and I think we should keep it.
Obviously, you're a competitive person to reach this level and everything you've done. You guys are as well. How do you teach them to compete and not fight, battle without crossing the line?
Right. Well, when you're diving into the competition, and our young men, they have not just been taught by me, but for other coaches that they have had an opportunity to work with prior to arriving here at the university. But the message is always being taught, not just by myself, but also from our staff. And, you know, for a head coach like Phil Martelli, and I still call him a head coach because not only have coached so many years, but also have had so much success. You know, that man is a great teacher, and he's not only a teacher to our players, but a teacher to coaches like young coaches like myself, Howard, and Sadi. And we always talk about how it's important for our guys to be dialed into the competition, keep it between the lines, and never take it where it's personal. Stay engaged into competing on the floor, and when the game gets physical, make sure it stays within the rules of the game.
If you were watching on TV, you probably couldn't avoid the bracketology talk, I guess. Have
Right.
you given any thought to, you know, your team's place potentially in the field? Have you done enough, or it's
One
kind of
game
out
at a
of sight?
time. You know, and that's how I've always been wired. And my mindset has been preparation for Indiana, but I was waiting by the television, excited to see where we'd be seated for the Big Ten tournament. And that was at one point Penn State, and at one point there was Maryland, and there was a point they were talking about Indiana. And I kept gathering all my notes and watching game film on all three teams.
Coach, I wonder if you had a different depth of conversation maybe with Musa and Terrence, since they also served a suspension from the events. I mean, just, you know, what you talked about with those two specifically.
Yes, we had a conversation the next day as we all took a breather, calmed down, reflect, and we talked. And it was a good conversation. Talked about accountability. We talked about taking ownership. We talk about no excuses, and we talk about learning through this process. And I also reached out to my student athletes' parents as well and called them, and I had some good conversations. But throughout all the conversations I've had with my players and their parents, everyone's been extremely supportive.
You had a moment with Jim Harbaugh over there after he had his big win. You clearly have relationships with all the coaches here. Did Michigan coaches reach out to you and give you their support?
Yes. It was great to know that. You know, there's, like I stated earlier, about friends throughout, not just here at the University of Michigan, but knowing that there are coaches here at the University of Michigan, head coaches, assistant coaches, managers. They've been supportive through the process, and they know it, gotten a chance to get to know me, know where my heart is, knowing that Coach Harbaugh, Kim, Mike Bottom, Sean, the list can goes on. I don't want to miss anyone, and others, I would say, just to keep it safe. We've had conversations and text messages back and forth, but it's nothing like knowing that your Michigan family loves you, and that's what I got from it. They all love me, and I love them too.
Can I ask a follow-up? It's not really related, but Phil Martelli came out here for his press conference and said, "I am not Juwan Howard." Can you tell me who Phil Martelli is and the job he did in these 5 games?
I am not Phil Martelli. But I was not surprised with the job that Coach Phil, Coach Howard, and Coach Sadi. Keep in mind, I'm also the one that hired them to be a part of my staff, and I took my time when it came to choosing my staff. And one of the things that I've touched on early on, and I'm not afraid to say at this moment, is I've never been a head coach before on a collegiate level, and when there's a weakness in me, I try to find the strength to make up for the weakness. And Coach Phil Martelli, not only being the experience he has, but the man, the person. And I'm getting chills right now. I get a little choked up just talking about him because I know that he loves me, and I love him.
Juwan, from a team perspective, how's Hunter doing? Has he been practicing, and
Yeah.
what's the status for tomorrow?
Today was his first practice, and we're going to monitor it. Unfortunately, he missed some last 2 practices and not feeling well, and it's sad to see for a young man who wanted to play in the Ohio State game, and your health is everything, and but it was inspiring to watch his teammates go out there and compete in his absence. And we've always had this mantra around here, that next man up mentality, and they stepped up for Hunter.
Phil mentioned that he hoped it wouldn't spread to others. Has this spread to others, or is it just him at this point?
Thank God, it's just Hunter right now. Knock on wood. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you all for coming once again. God bless you.